All right, now we're going to do CO2 and electricity. So how much CO2 is produced each day if you use a toaster for 15 minutes to make your family breakfast? Okay, now, first of all, a toaster uses 1100 watts per hour. Okay? 15 minutes is 1/4 of an hour, so that's 0.25 hours. All right, so when we set this up, we always start with watts. Then we always change watts to kilowatts, because recall with CO2 and electricity you have to use the 1.37 pounds per kilowatt hour. So now we're out of watts and we're into kilowatts. Well, how many hours are we using this? Because after kilowatts you go to hours. Well, we know that's 0.025 hours. Okay, once I have kilowatt hours, then I do my 1.37 pounds per kilowatt hour, because kilowatts, kilowatts, hours, hours. And now I'm in pounds. So 1100 divide by 1000 times 0.25 times 1.37, you produce 0.37675 pounds of CO2 every day by using the toaster for 15 minutes. That's a lot of toasting. I don't know, I feel like that's a lot of toasting. Number 2, how much CO2 is produced if you use a curling iron for a half hour every day for a full year? Okay, well, a curling iron uses 90 watts. Half hour is 0.5 hours. Okay, so let's do this. 90 watts. I change watts to kilowatts by dividing by 1000. I'm out of watts. How many hours? Well, 0.4 hours per day, right? Hours every day, and we're doing this for a year, which is 365 days. Okay, so that, and you can otherwise just take 0.5 times 365 and get total hours. It's up to you entirely. But now I'm in kilowatt hours, so now I can do my 1.37 pounds per 1 kilowatt hour. Kilowatts cancels out with kilowatts, hours with hours. Multiply, divide by 1000. We end up with 22.5 pounds of CO2. Number 3, how much CO2 is produced if you vacuum your house for 1 hour a week for a year? Okay, so vacuuming is 500 watts, and there are 52 weeks in a year. Okay, so I start with 500 watts. I change watts to kilowatts by dividing by 1000. So watts goes away. How many hours? Well, 1 hour per week for 52 weeks, right? Because we're doing this for a full year. So 52 total hours you're vacuuming. Now that I have kilowatt hours, I do 1.37 pounds is 1 kilowatt hour. So kilowatts cancels out with kilowatts, hours with hours. I'm just left with pounds. I do my mathematics, multiply and divide by 1000, and I get 35.62 pounds of CO2 in a year from vacuuming. And the last problem. We've got kind of a couple different ways you can do this one, but how much less CO2 is produced in a week if you open your windows and use a ceiling fan for 8 hours every day of the week instead of running a room air conditioner for 8 hours every day of the week? Okay, so basically you're finding the difference between these. And you can either find the CO2 for each one and then subtract, or we can say, okay, we have the room air conditioner and the ceiling fan. The room air conditioner uses 1100 watts. The ceiling fan uses 100 watts. So the difference is 1000 watts. This is the watts that we are saving. So when we do this, we can say if we are saving 1000 watts, well, change watts to kilowatts. Makes the watts go away. We are doing that for 8 hours each day, and it said for a week, and there are 7 days in a week. So now that I'm in kilowatt hours, I multiply by 1.37 pounds over 1 kilowatt hour, and so kilowatt hours cancel out with kilowatt hours. So when I divide and then multiply on the top, I end up with 76.72 pounds of CO2. That's how much you save by doing this. And again, you could find the air conditioner one and then find the ceiling fan and subtract, and you should get pretty much the same answer. Of course, depending on rounding, you might be off by just a few decimal places. And that is CO2 with electricity.